Hello, my friends. Today, I am very pleased to welcome a new friend, Alexandra Freeman, who is the founder of Introductions, which is an incredible matchmaking service. And she has been a matchmaker for 12 years. She's helped other people start matchmaking services, and she operates all over the country. So I'm just so excited to have you here, Alexandra, to share what you're working on and maybe give me some tips on my love life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. Okay. So, Alexandra, I have a question that I've been trying to kind of get at with a bunch of matchmakers, but I don't know. I feel like I haven't been gotten an answer yet. And that's kind of, I was wondering about flavor profiles, kind of. So, you know how like peanut
Okay.
butter and jelly go really well together, and peanut butter and honey, and peanut butter and avocado. And avocado and jelly are both delicious, but they don't really fit that well together. I mean, some people might like avocado and jelly. So beyond, when you're matchmaking two people, beyond, the obvious things such as, I want someone who wants to have children and marriage, are there certain pairs that you like to make? Kind of, I don't know, like silent and chatty or sweet and salty. I'd love to hear
That's
more
such a
about
fun question.
that.
Yeah. So it depends on the person. So, one of the things that I've learned over the years of matchmaking is you have to have the discernment to see when people are good with an opposites attract mentality and when people need something similar to them because it can be different in people.
Mm.
I've had clients who are a bit more introverted and a bit more reserved, and they really shined when I matched them with somebody who was more extroverted and could pull them out of their shell. But then I've had other clients who are introverted and meticulous, and they feel overwhelmed by that kind of partner. So it can be
Mhm.
really a case by case basis of knowing your client and knowing who they are and saying, okay, maybe they're peanut butter and jelly, but maybe they're just peanut butter and they need more peanut butter.
That's such a great answer, because I think that I've kind of resonated with people who are very passionate, high energy, and then sometimes I've also done well with the guy who was a little bit more quiet and introverted. It's just a different type of dynamic for sure. That's so cool. Is there anything besides like extroverted and introverted that can pair nicely together?
Oh, absolutely. So we can have like somebody with a meticulous nature, somebody who always has the plan, somebody who is always ready to book the flights and make all the arrangements, and then kind of the type B person who's just like, I'm gonna roll up and hopefully I have my passport. So sometimes that can be a good match because some meticulous people don't want to be fighting for that spot as the planner. So they love a type B person who can just go along with the plan. But then other people feel that they are being taken advantage of and they're like, no, I need somebody to be involved in the process. So again, it comes down to knowing yourself and what's going to work for you.
I love that. And how do you get at that with people? Because I feel like a lot of this journey has just been me trying to understand what do I want and what would be a good fit for me. I imagine a lot of people come to you and they don't really know what it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. So I'm a big fan of taking a holistic approach to dating. And the number one first step for that is understanding yourself. So, like, what are your core values, your flaws, your features, the things that define who you are as a person? Are you happy with those things? Because sometimes maybe we need to make some adjustments. But if you are, then you know, okay, how do I work this into a successful relationship for myself? So,
Mm,
the very beginning of that is being completely honest with yourself about what you have going on before trying to introduce another variable, which is another person.
I love that. That's such a beautiful thing. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot for myself because I think some of my strengths are being warm and kind and sweet and high energy, but then I realized, wow, I'm kind of a little bit messy. Like, I'm kinda type A
Yeah,
when
it
it
can
I mean,
happen.
not a slob, but I was like, "Okay, that could be a problem for some people." And I also tend to attract kind of more OCD guys, so it can be a point of friction, so it just thinks about how much a point of friction. Are they willing to trade passion for someone who doesn't sweep the floor every day, you know? With their
Yeah.
clothes out all over the bed before we go out on a date. Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Are there, do you have a certain Oh, yeah, please.
I was going to say that's a really self-aware assessment of one of your flaws. So that's something that I work on with clients because we all have them. As much as we want to
Mhm.
all believe we're flawless and, everything's perfect about us, we should know what our flaws are. Like me, I am the type A person. I'm the one booking the flights. Do not get in my way. Do not ask me
Mhm.
questions. Show up when the schedule says you should be here. And that's a flaw of mine, and I'm aware of that. So it's good that you have an awareness of your flaws because that's one of the first steps to being successful.
Yeah, and I think I would love to date someone like you because I think that once I get on the trip, I'm so much fun. I go with the flow. I'm that friend who's kind of dancing in the street. Yeah, let's try this, let's try that. So I'm very
Yeah.
happy with someone else to plan all the details around the trip, and then I'm off to do whatever they want to do is fine with me. So, yeah, I think sometimes even with friends, you can get in this issue where you're both out and it says, "Oh, what do you want to do?" Well, what do you want to do? No, no, what do you want to do? That can
No,
be
I already have the
challenge.
first option, the second option, the backup plan, and the emergency backup plan.
Exactly. Yes. I even have a friend recently who was saying it's really frustrating to her because her boyfriend just never makes a plan or she's out with friends and she always has to be the one to make the decision. So I love that. That's so interesting. Okay. Another question. We're just diving right into the heart of the matter here. So you're matching people all over the United States, which is amazing. And do you find that I'm really curious because I'm someone who has a lot of flexibility in terms of where I live. And so I do kind of want to do a nationwide or even a global search for my person. How does that work practically when someone says I'm open to someone who lives anywhere?
I love a client with open borders. It's my absolute favorite client to take on. We make so many interesting matches that way. We even do have a small presence internationally. We do Canada as well, and we do some of Europe also. And I will say that when I'm talking to a client who has certain things that they're looking for, I say, if the only thing you can be flexible on is location, everything else can be worked around
Ooh, so how did
because there's
yeah,
so many people in the world. And if you can fight through the long distance, if you can make it work, if you can make the commitment, then we can really look at finding the best person for you at all instead of the best person for you in your area.
amazing. And how does that work in terms of the first date? Because I've had experiences where I think that things have kind of started off with the guy and then he realizes I don't live in the same place as him, and so it's kinda not ideal for
Mm.
him. So when you're doing matchmaking, what would a first date like? Would it be a Zoom date? Would someone fly out to meet the other person?
Yeah, so we do a Zoom date first because we also don't want to put too much pressure on flying out for a first date and you don't even know if you really have any chemistry at all. But what we also do is we do not encourage texting or calling before the Zoom date. They do
That's
get each other's phone numbers on the day of in case there's like an emergency, but we don't recommend you do chit chat because what we're doing is we are simulating a dating environment online. We're not just doing a quick call. Like that's what you should be doing. You should be dressing up like you're going on a date. You should make sure that your hair is done. You should make sure that your background is clean, the lighting is good. Really treat this like an important moment because it is an important moment. And then if there's enough chemistry, you can work out, okay, like who's flying out? Where should we meet? What are we doing?
amazing. Okay. So for a heterosexual woman looking for heterosexual man, I mean, my friends are always kind of complaining about the lack of quality men out there. And this is a whole conversation because I think if you're trying to date, you really do need to cultivate a positive attitude. And then at the other hand, I do think there is kind of a crisis of masculinity right now where there's a lot
Mm.
of men, especially younger men who are kind of flailing. And then for my age group, I think it's a little bit even trickier because I don't know, like there just aren't as many options. So I was curious, like if you had to live in any city, do you think that there is some sweet spots for great men?
That's such a good question. So, the thing is, every single city that you talk to, they're going to think it's the worst city for dating.
Of
I
course.
have I have probably given 5 or 6 different interviews to newspapers on why this is the worst city to date in, and I tell them the same things every time. And I'm like, "It's not really, but I get it." Like, the thing is, dating can be hard anywhere or it can be easy anywhere. Now, the easiest places are going to be places with large density populations. because it's a numbers game at the end of the
Mhm.
day. So that's going to help you a lot. Now, this is why I say open up your borders, because maybe if you're 2 hours outside of a major metro, you're obviously not going to be having as many options as if you're in a major metro. But realistically, it's less about where you are and more about who you are and what you're doing. Because if you're
Interesting.
constantly running into this situation where you're not finding the quality of men that you're looking for, you feel like you're not meeting masculine men or the type of masculine men that you are attracted to, or whatever that situation is, it's very rarely that those people don't exist and much more common that you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, so I used to live in New York City and I had an incredibly difficult time there. I mean, when I moved to San Francisco, it was just a lot easier for me to meet men. And then when I went to Austin, Texas, it was incredibly easy to meet men, but they just weren't the type of men that I really wanted to date.
Mhm.
And so I'm curious, kind of, do you think if I guess I don't know, San Francisco was a good spot for me because I feel like the men there are still kind of chivalrous, but they are also I mean, they have the incentive to date you, but then they
Mm.
also are a little bit more liberal at the same time, which is kind of a rare combo, like, respecting women and but then also treating them like a lady. It's I kind of like that. I mean, I also find that I'm now in Croatia, and I find that the men here are also very they most women work, and so they're not intimidated by a successful woman, but at the same time, they're never ever gonna ask to split the bill on the first couple
Yeah.
dates, like that.
In Slavic countries, there's a much firmer respect for traditional dating gender roles in that kind of sense. So I totally understand what you're saying. I'm currently in Tbilisi, Georgia, so it's a very similar dating scene. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, so my question would be, when you were in New York versus San Francisco versus wherever else you've been, how are you meeting people?
I met them all through the apps. I mean, what I read
Mm,
about New York is there are just so many women relative to men, and then everybody has this crazy FOMO, it's because there's so many options. But I found that in New York so I was in New York for 15 years. It was just very hard to find someone. All the guys I was dating were dating multiple people and kind of being not so transparent about it. And so then I went to New York and went to San Francisco. I also used the dating apps. I went to events where there were men as well. And I found someone, within 10 days. And then when I went back to New York recently, I had the situation where none of the online dating even resulted in a date. It was all just texting back and forth. I think I must have messaged maybe 300 different men and I ended up going on 2 dates and they were just really not compatible with me.
yeah.
So I
We're
found that
definitely seeing an increase in interest in off app dating in New York because people have echoed
Mm,
what you've said, that
okay.
the apps are just overcrowded. And there is a slight imbalance where women are feeling slightly disenfranchised in New York when it comes to dating. Um, it's actually very interesting because some matchmakers really enjoy servicing male clients in New York because a lot of the times our clients are really high quality and there's a lot of women who are interested. So it can be really much easier there. But I think that in that case, for example, in the last like 5 or 6 years, online dating has become very tricky in everywhere, but especially in places like New York. And we're seeing a lot of people coming to events, hobbies, friend circles, traditional matchmaking, professional matchmaking, all of these things. And they're finding a lot more success that way.
Wow. So what do men in New York struggle with? I mean, I'm thinking about I have a friend in his 40s and he has everything going for him. He's, 5'11". He makes $500,000 a year. He's very social. I mean, he throws his own parties. But I don't know, I feel like the last couple women he dated have been not ready for a commitment or just kind of flaky. One had kind of
Mm,
a negative view about his family. I mean, for us looking at him, you're an affluent guy in New York City. So why can't you meet someone? How could a matchmaker help someone like him? I mean, what could you kinda know the type?
yeah. So I've learned that oftentimes people forget what dating is supposed to be, and they're
Mhm.
not really approaching it from a correct perspective. And I
Mm.
totally get why, because with the gamification of online dating, we've become very attuned to like looking at a profile and making a quick decision.
No.
And it creates negative neural pathways in your head towards dating.
Mhm.
As
Oh,
opposed to in matchmaking, I don't usually give more than one date at a time and like one a month. And this person has been thoroughly vetted. I've really interviewed them. I really think that they'd be a good fit. So they have, and their people are paying me a good amount of money to make that happen for them. So they really have to think about this match. They really have to assess
Mhm.
it. Like, okay, the profile matches what I was looking for. Maybe I don't feel 100% chemistry on the first date, but you know what? I've put a lot of effort into this. So maybe we try one more date. Maybe we give this a lot more formal consideration. And that does two things. It allows us to know when to reject a match, because sometimes it isn't meant to be. Sometimes you have to say, you know what, this isn't a fit for me. And it gives us a chance to let some relationships build that we might not have otherwise let build.
Mm.
So when I encounter somebody like you described your friend to be, where they're on paper a catch, but we've got a history of unsuccessful dating, unfortunately, the common denominator is not the other people, it's kind of you. And we can't control what other people do, we can only control what we do. So we start to look at the behavior patterns and some of the dating patterns and seeing if maybe we can find something in there that we can tweak.
Mm.
Not just say, oh, all the women in New York or all the men in New York, and generalize. Because at the end of the day, we don't control all the singles in New York, we control ourselves.
Absolutely. And it might be that he's just kind of meeting the wrong kind of people. These women are not
Yep.
interested in something long term. They're not ready for that. Amazing. Okay. I mean, the whole thing about, if you don't have interest on the first date, date again, that's, all well and good. Do you think that advice applies more to women than men, though? Because I think that what I've noticed is that men kind of know on the first date whether they're attracted to someone or not, but women, it can just grow over
I
time.
think I encourage all of my clients to not make snap decisions on the first date. I think we've all become extremely spoiled when it
Mm.
comes to attraction. Because even if you look at like modern culture and modern pop media, we're used to seeing stunning people on our screens 24/7, and people who are even more stunning than the 90s pop stars. Okay, like people are much more polished, people are much more beautiful, there's a lot more going on. And we also have started implementing this in online dating, where we see 60 photos and we're like, oh yeah, that one, that's the
Exactly.
prettiest one, that
And they're
one's for
even
me.
more stunning than themselves because they have all these filters and on the
Yes. And so it's the same thing when you go on a first date. Attraction at its core is so much more than an image of a person.
Mm.
And there have been multiple times where I have encouraged a client, I'm like, hey, unless you just hate her guts, unless you're just having a terrible time, please try for a second date, maybe
Mm.
even a third date, because attraction can grow. And that doesn't mean you're settling. It doesn't mean, you're forcing yourself to like someone, but attraction is more than just the face. It's like, do you vibe with this person? Is there physical chemistry? Is there emotional chemistry? And it's so important that we start treating dating like we're actually evaluating a life partner, and less like we want to have butterflies, because butterflies are a scam.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I was even thinking about how when we're in middle school or high school or college or work, I mean, the people that I've had a crush on, I didn't have a crush on them the first moment I saw them. I had a crush on them after I'd been observing them in class or working on projects, or they said something and I was like, whoa. And so I
Yes,
think to have that
absolutely.
expectation after a 1 hour coffee date is just unrealistic, and so I mean, that's unfortunate. So what do you think are the best places to meet people?
Yeah, so my number one recommendation is to meet people where you want to be.
Mhm.
So I often have to discourage people who are like, I've heard it's the best place to meet women, at this bar. And I'm like, do you even like to drink? They're like, no, not really. Do you go to a lot of bars? No, not really. I'm like, okay, well, stop that then. Like, why are we going to a bar? Instead, the most interesting person you can be is a person with interests. Find an interest, find a hobby, live in that space, and meet the people who go to that space. And you're more likely to find compatible matches there than going somewhere that you manufacture in your head is the singles place.
Okay, yes, I agree with you, and I have had to kind of push myself a little bit because I was always involved in very women-dominated activities,
Mm.
ballet, yoga, theater. I mean, I think this is why I didn't date when I was younger. I even opted out of PE class because I got took ballet lessons, and then I went to an art school in high school. Maybe 3 straight guys on the whole campus. And so I have I think that I don't know, I tried CrossFit, I sprained my neck last week. That was a bad idea.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
CrossFit can be hard on, like, joints.
Yeah,
I
it was
yeah.
also a fake CrossFit class, it was so that was not ideal. But, yeah, but I think, and I was thinking about maybe doing jujitsu. Do you think that there's some I mean, I go to this coffee shop every day that is really high-end coffee, and there are men there, but at a certain point, it's the same men every day. Nothing has happened yet with them. I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's
do you think
such a
that
good
yacht
point
clubs
because that can be a sticking point. Because obviously, I want you to pick activities that you like, but if you're only picking activities that are solely single-gendered spaces usually, that can hold you back a little bit. So in that case, I would absolutely it sounds like you like physical activity, so I
I
think
do.
leaning into physical activity is a great starting point. Um, you've definitely picked intense ones. So
Your whole spectrum, right?
like,
Yeah.
jujitsu is also very hard on your joints, just to be clear.
I haven't taken a
Um,
class yet, so, I mean, that's the one thing, but I feel like maybe going to the I was thinking about what guys are hot, and like, jujitsu guys are hot.
well, you'll certainly be wrapped around a lot of very attractive men, so I'll give you that much. Like, if that's what you're going for, that will be happening. Whether or not you wanna date them after is a separate issue.
Vibe and Valley.
Yeah. I think in that case, yeah, just try to find you're already doing it basically. Try to find tangential spaces or spaces that are around your interests that are more co-ed. So finding crossovers. Like, for example, you did dance, you said, right?
Mhm.
Ballet?
Yes.
So then you could, if you're still interested in dance, if you still like to dance, maybe you could do a different practice. Like you could do a hip hop class or something like that that tends to have a more co-ed space to it. Even though that's still dance is even at the hip hop level is still kind of feminine. But like my point
I
is to
just think
assess your interests. The point I'm trying to make is to assess your interests and find tangential interests that are more
Okay.
aligned with your goal of dating because then you're still having fun.
Mm.
Because at its core, people can tell when you're having fun and when you're just there to shop.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I think I can always have fun even when I'm breaking my neck with a CrossFit barbell, but fake CrossFit barbell. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to get at is so I have this kind of I'm very strategic, I'm a business lady like yourself, and I thought maybe I can kind of reverse engineer my ideal man. And so I was thinking, all right, if I was a matchmaker for myself, like even like what jobs would I be looking for on LinkedIn or, someone said go to the golf club. Another person said I should go to funerals, like for widows.
Oh, don't go. No.
I don't know about that one. Those are 2 people I was thinking I mean, as you
I
as a
mean, I respect the hustle, but I don't recommend that.
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna that's not a fun activity.
Yeah. So that's a great point. And if you wanted to act like your own matchmaker, um, the thing is, one of the benefits of having a matchmaker means you don't have to do the cringe parts. So, like,
Yeah.
as a matchmaker, I literally will reach out to people on LinkedIn and be like, hey, are you single?
Yeah.
Like, I've tapped people on the shoulder in bars, like, and let me tell you, it's cringe inducing. And the benefit is that, okay, it's not for me, it's for someone else, and you don't have to do that part.
Right.
But when you're solo, it can be a little harder to put yourself out there in those kind of ways. Whoever suggested golf, that is a male dominated sport. But it's also really boring if you don't like golf. So
So
keep that in
boring.
mind.
So boring. Okay, so this is I don't know, but it is you could kind of do something where I mean, well, partly I'm trying to meet matchmakers. That's one thing. But I mean, I feel like you could kind of do it for a friend or something. I mean, I know you
Hmm.
don't. I'm not asking you to give away any trade secrets, but I'll just tell you when I'm looking for tutors for kids, I do use LinkedIn very heavily. I actually
Yeah.
used it to meet you as well, and it's a
Hmm.
very effective tool. And so, I mean, since it's my expertise, I know what to look for in a tutor. If somebody needs a tutor who's fluent in Malaysian, who's in Singapore. I know, okay, go look for preschool teachers in Singapore, who speak Malaysian. And so that's something I can find. But when looking for a man, I don't really know kind of where to look. I mean, because the thing, and it's not like I'm gonna go on LinkedIn and ask people if they're single. I'll probably get booted off LinkedIn. But if I could do something like start a new podcast where I interview successful people or something. Do you think that there are certain professions? Like, how would you, if you were just gonna go about it for me, what would you?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that. The problem there is like, even if you're in a podcast where you're meeting people in different professions, you're kind of mixing business and pleasure, right? So it can get a little weird. Um,
Taylor Swift,
what
that's
you
what
can,
Travis Kelce did. He had her on his podcast.
I'll tell you one industry secret.
Okay.
Reach out to any matchmaker and
Okay.
ask them if you can join their database.
Okay. Well, there we go.
It's almost always free. And you may not get a lot of matches depending on the volume. Like, for example, I'm a boutique service, so our
Yeah.
client lists are fairly small. So if I don't have someone in your age range, you're just not going to hear from me for a while. But if you
Yeah.
sign up to enough of them, you can get matches that way. Now, the matches are not going to be as tailored to you as if you were a client,
Sure.
because at the end of the day, you're a member of the database, but you can be successful that way. So that's one trick you can try, is to join a matchmaking database.
And you have one that people can sign up for.
Yes, yes, absolutely. At introductionsinc.com, you can select our passive membership option. And if you fill out the form, someone will reach out and you can get a free database membership.
Lovely. Okay, I will definitely do that. Okay, that
Absolutely.
all right, so that's a good trade secret. Do you think that okay, so when you're going on LinkedIn though, are there certain professions that you're targeting, especially for men?
Right. So I don't target professions, but what I might do is I might target education. Somebody
Okay.
who has a college degree or multiple degrees. Depending on the age range, we look for certain things, you know. Obviously, you can't see exact ages on LinkedIn, but you can take a guess based off of when they graduated high school and when they graduated college, for example.
Yeah.
So you can use that to kind of assess like the age range you're looking for. You can also keep an eye on languages spoken to see if maybe there's an immigrant status, if that's something that's important to you, if you want somebody with a similar background of you. You kind of
Mm,
have to be a little detective.
got
So
it.
you go through the whole profile and you kind of analyze and draw your conclusions based off that, but education is a good one.
Amazing. And what I mean, what age range are most of your clients?
So that's such a good question, because for a really long time, so I've been in the industry for about 14 years.
Mhm.
And for a really long time, matchmaking was kind of an older game. It was like 40 to 60, right? However, online dating is dying a little bit. People are becoming disillusioned with it. Nobody's having a good time. So now we're starting to get a lot more young clients. Like my youngest client is 26, and my oldest client who just finished his contract was 74.
Amazing. What
So
type
it's
Yeah,
it's a
that's
wide variety at this point.
it makes a lot of sense to me because online dating apps are designed to make you fail pretty much because that's how retention works in the startup world. And it's about delivering shareholder value, which means you have to retain users. And I think that people who are successful are very busy. They don't have 2 hours a day to be swiping and vetting through all the, not great stuff that you can see on these apps. It's really demoralizing. So it would make sense that you would hire a professional to do that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I like to tell people that online dating is like having a part-time job, and the only reason I do it is because I'm getting paid for it and you're not. So I don't recommend it for most people
Absolutely.
because between the vetting, the screening, the botting, it's just become too little reward for the effort that you're putting in.
100%. I mean, it's something I just have to kinda get a bottle of wine and force myself to do because I know it'll result in a date, but then there's so much disappointment afterwards also, sometimes. On the other hand, you can find certain people that way, so that's good. So I'm 44 and I think that, it is what it is. I would have loved to meet someone in my 20s. That was my hope. I didn't. And I kind of every year so I renew my efforts and I feel like where I am is there's just no reason for me not to try to find love. Like even if it's maybe some ways harder, if you want something you should try it. And I want to put my whole self into it. And it's funny because even though it's like I'm different than I was in my 20s. In my 20s, I had a very specific vision of what I wanted to look like someone physically, what were the characteristics, and now I think I have a much better sense of kind of what I have to bring to a relationship and what I would find attractive. So, all that to say, what type of age range of man might be looking for a woman who's 44? A very
I will
complex
say
question for a
I
simple.
will say that is an interesting age range for men because they do tend to in the 40 to 60 age range, that is the most common time I'll see a man who wants a younger partner.
Mm,
Once you get out of the 60s, they don't care. And if you're under the 40s, they don't really care. But that
uh-huh.
40 to 60 range is suddenly when you've got 62-year-olds wanting 40-year-olds.
4-year-olds. That's
40
not
year no, 40-year-olds. Sorry. My headphones maybe glitched out there for a second,
yes,
but
your
I
goodness,
think you
you're
get my point.
sorry. Yeah, no, I mean, I can understand though, because a man also is concerned if he wants to have children, he would want to choose
Mm.
under 35. That makes sense. I mean, for me, I have my eggs frozen. I've talked to fertility consultants. I know it's, not guaranteed, but still possible. And then I have found I do get quite a bit of interest from men 10 years younger than me, like not passing interest, serious interest. And so maybe they're just in a different place with it. So, yeah, so it's a bit tough, right?
Yeah, I think that what happens is 30-year-olds tend to be a bit more optimistic about
Mm,
everything. And
yeah.
once you hit like 50, I find that the men tend to be a little bit disillusioned.
Mm.
Um, Now this is obviously generalizations. You can't say that about every single person, but overall, you see these patterns sometimes emerge.
Yeah, for sure. I can understand that. And I know also, I mean, I think I was reading an article by Evan Katz about how sometimes women, I mean, when you're in your 40s, you're strong, you know who you are, but you can also be really frustrated with men and feel like, and it can feel kind of less easy for a man to be around at some point. I don't know. That's what
Yeah,
his point of view was.
I think that it's kind of funny because in the 30s, I find that women kind of seek older men
Mm.
because they want some sort of stability or they're wanting some level of maturity that they're not seeing in their year mates.
Hmm.
While men in their 30s tend to be looking all over. They'll go older, they'll go younger, they'll go their age. And then we see kind of a change once we get into the 40s where women suddenly they're like, no, around my age, maybe a little tiny bit older. And the men are like, give me the 30-year-olds. And I'm like, no, sorry.
Yeah. My basic feeling is a good 10 under, 10 over is a fair range, but yeah,
Yeah, that's very
sad,
reasonable.
sad Alexandra, but I mean, maybe there's still some out there who would
There
wanna.
is. I want to be clear that I am making some generalizations based off age range and gender, but there are plenty of good men and plenty of good women, and it does work out for them.
I mean, it's good to know. It's good to know all of these factors for sure. Um, Amazing. Okay, and how about just, like, would you talk a little bit about your own search for love or where that
Oh,
is?
yeah. Absolutely. So I am currently single. I was in a long-term relationship for a long time in my 20s and 30s, or well, late 20s. Now I'm in my early 30s and I'm no longer dating. But overall, I have found that, you know, I'm really dedicated to finding myself before finding a partner.
So
Like
important.
how much I've changed from 10 years ago to today, I could write a study. Like I could probably write 3 books and you would be like, "Is this the same person?" I'd be like, "No." Um, so that's when we really get into the idea of like a cornerstone relationship versus a capstone relationship. So when you're dating in your younger years and you're sort of learning love for the first time and you're growing with a partner, that relationship as it continues is so different from a relationship you start when you're older. So now that a capstone relationship would be my future if I were to find a partner. It's very important to me that I come from a position of complete understanding of myself first
Mhm.
so that I am making sure that we can be in alignment moving forward.
That's so beautiful, and I wish it's something that I mean, I guess I always have been on a search to understand myself, but it takes a long time to be self-aware and to let go of all those inhibitions, and so but when you're feeling like, right now, I'm so happy and full, and I know what I love, and I'm surrounded by so many friends, it's just such a better place to be coming from, for sure.
Sounds like a great framework because honestly, I'm not saying you have to be perfect or you have to have a complete understanding of yourself, but if you have no understanding of yourself, that is a very high likelihood of failure in dating because you can't understand someone else if you don't understand yourself at least a little.
Absolutely. And the way I think about it is the more you understand yourself, the better match you'll make. Like you could have no self understanding and be an awful, depressed person. Then you'll meet a terrible match, maybe, or you'll meet someone
Yeah,
amazing and you won't be able to appreciate them. So the more you understand
absolutely.
yourself, the better chance you have of really attracting someone amazing, I would imagine, in any event.
The thing is I'm a big proponent of radical acceptance. There
Mhm.
is nothing you can tell me about what you're looking for that I'm going to judge you for. Now, that doesn't mean I can always service everybody, but I will never judge anybody for what they're looking for or what they want.
Mm,
However, the number one client I hate servicing is the one who doesn't know what they want at all or is lying to themselves about what they want. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to match you with people who are not what you want,
mm,
and you are not going to be satisfied because you don't know what you want. You've not told me what you want. So if you are a social climber, you want to date in a certain social sphere, you want to rise to the top, you are all ambition all the time, and you don't really care about anything else. There's no judgment here. There's no problem with that. You want to meet somebody who's going to climb with you. But then you come to me and you're like, "No, I'm just a homebody. I'm just a soft girl. I just want to stay home with the kids." And I'm like, "Okay, then I'm going to match you with someone who aligns with that and we're all going to be unhappy."
right, right. So, what are the questions that you ask people to help get at that, to help them get at what they want?
Yeah. So, one of the first things I would ask is, how are you dating currently and how is it going for you? Because
Mm,
that's going to tell me if you are in alignment with yourself. Because if you just tell me, like, "Hey, I can't do online dating, so I haven't been dating at all. When I was dating, things went fine, but I'm struggling to find people." That tells me that you're not having some misalignment with dating in general. You're just having a lack of opportunity. And then we can work together to see how it goes through my service and assess where any problems might be.
mm,
But when I have a client come to me that says, I have a client like this right now, I go on dates constantly. I'm dating all the time. I'm going out on 5 dates a week, never getting past the first date.
mhm,
I'm like, okay, something is out of alignment here. Either your wants and needs are not clearly defined in yourself,
mhm.
or the kind of person you are presenting is not appropriate for who you're trying to find.
Yeah.
There's some misalignment that's going on, right? So that's when I need to dig a little deeper. So it will depend on the person how deep we have to dig. Some people are already coming from a really good space, but they're just like, hey, I just don't have time and I need you to line up some dates for me. And then
Yeah.
other people are coming to me, my whole system is broken down. What do we do? And that's when we need to dig a little bit in with coaching.
Yeah, I love that. I think that I definitely relate with type 2 where even it's not like I go on a lot of second dates and third dates, but the men that I've met recently have been so disastrous. And I and I think and I just don't quite know what I'm doing wrong in terms of finding these people. I mean, I the last guy I dated and they're wrong for different reasons. Like the last guy I dated was a pediatric surgeon. He's like very nervous, short, like, so, interested in me, but then, like, the second date, he just kind of flaked off and disappeared, and because he was busy,
Oh,
and then the guy I dated before that had a really serious mental illness. I dated him for about a month, and then the guy before that and I met him on a dating app, and then the guy before that I met on a boat. He kinda came up to me and asked for my Instagram, and then he was just such a player. It's just
well,
so just I
I'm going
just
to
have
be honest. When you told me he came up to you on a boat, I immediately was suspicious.
he was a sailor on the boat. Well, I mean, I introduce like, 'cause I say hello to people in the wild, so I always
No,
I
it's
just
good. It's a good
yeah,
instinct. But yeah,
yeah,
I
exactly.
can see how that might
But
have
also
gone.
I feel like, I'm just not, like, aligned in terms of and the thing I didn't mention to you, but I was raised without a dad or really a role model for relationships, so I think it's even harder for me to just kind of understand, how to really shine my light on the kind of men that would be a good fit for me.
Yeah. So what I would recommend is for you to sit down and do a written assessment
Mhm.
of your recent dates and see at what point you recognize that it was not going right.
Mm,
So find the point at which that turned for you and see if there was a point before that where you could have identified the probability of that happening,
mhm.
because there's always going to be people who are not in alignment with you. That is unavoidable. But what we can do is we can try to identify it early on in the process before it becomes an emotional investment for you so that you're not burning yourself out.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to meet better quality people in the first place, and I shouldn't say quality because I do think it's about compatibility. I don't think there are bad people and good people. Um, but, because even with these guys, I didn't give them that long. I mean, I gave them a little bit of time. I mean, with the doctor, I didn't know he was gonna flake out on the second date, but yeah.
By flake out, did he just ghost you or what happened?
Well, what happened is that we went out on this date. He's very enthusiastic. He's from the like Nordic country, so he's kind of more cut and dry. And we went out on the date. He was really nervous. He telling me, and then after the date, he initiated that we were going to have a second date on Sunday. It was Tuesday to go hiking, and then after the date, he was so sweet. We walked him home. He gave me his coat, like lots of kissing and everything, and then he sent me a message saying about how much he loved the date and, like, couldn't wait to see me on Sunday, and then the next message I got was on Thursday saying, "I got a shift at the hospital, so I might have to be sleeping on Sunday. I'll let you know Sunday if I'm going to be or not," and then I never heard from him again. So Sunday came,
Hmm.
no message. So it was kinda like he probably got cold feet or something.
Yeah, I think
Because this
that's likely.
happens over and over and over again to me.
And this is like something that's like repeating with you where if you had to say like a percentage, like how often are you giving up on the second date versus they are?
I think almost I think what's happening, it's more like after 2 weeks or so, there's something that's just really not right with this guy. So I would guess me. Yeah,
Okay. So, well, that's good because that means that instead of there being something that you need to fix in yourself, it's probably just something that you need to fix in your process.
I think so.
So that's where we're kind of doing some self assessment about how are we picking the people we're going on dates with? How are we identifying red flags and green flags? And are we being honest with ourselves about what we're looking for? That would be my recommendation if you were my client.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There was another guy I went out with, and I didn't feel a spark, but I would have gone on a second date with him, and then he just didn't initiate it, so maybe, I don't know.
Do you usually need them to initiate or are you comfortable initiating?
On the second date?
Yeah.
I usually wait for them to initiate because I feel like they wouldn't, like, if they were interested, they would.
Mm. Maybe test it. Next time, if you really like them and like just see how it feels. And if you hate it, you don't have to do it again. But sometimes we can like test things out where like I also am like that, right? I like to be sought out. I like to be pursued. I like it when they show a lot of interest. But sometimes if I really like that, I'll just like, okay, I'll do it.
Hmm.
And you just see what happens. And maybe it doesn't work out, maybe it does, but then you don't have that what if.
Yeah, maybe it's a false assumption that if a guy liked me, he would chase, and maybe I should be a little bit more forward.
Yeah, because we do forget that sometimes even great masculine leader men get a little anxious. Like they get a little
Mhm.
nervous. They get a little bit like they're like, I don't know if she likes me. I don't know about this. And so sometimes it's okay for us to reach out an olive branch.
That's true. Yeah, I even could with this doctor guy. I don't know if I will or not. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And it's
Mm,
okay if that doesn't work out either. If you do it and it doesn't work out and you're like, I hated that. I never want to do it again. That's fine. But this is the kind of slight variable we can shift if we find our current methods aren't working.
that's true. That's true. Do you find that most of your clients are men, or is it a mix of men and women?
Yeah. So we do generally find that men are more interested in being clients of matchmaking than women are. And I think that that's because culturally, historically, sociologically, women are less interested in paying for love.
Mm,
They feel like we just had this discussion about like wanting to be pursued, wanting to be the prize, wanting to be like the investment rather than putting that investment in. And men's are usually, they don't, that's not even a consideration. They're like, I have this money available. I want a wife. A plus B equals C. Like, but for women, it's like they feel a little weird, I think, about putting in such an investment to find a man.
Mm, yeah, for sure. So if I hired you as a woman, what would be your first step?
So the first step is lots and lots of very awkward conversations where you tell me about your love life. So we go through a whole consultation over the phone, over a video call, and then we present a program. You decide if you like the program, then we move forward. And then you have to sit and wait for me to do all of my fun background work where I interview people. We do background checks and everything and make sure like it's a good match before you get to go on your date. And then usually that's all the commitment is of you. All we require of our clients is their time and attention
You have to go on the date.
and
Oh,
their
rewind,
money.
rewind a second, and the money, yeah. So when you talk about, okay, then you go find the date, would you be going on the apps for me? Would you be going out to
Right.
bars, playing golf?
Yes. So some matchmakers will do what's called a dating takeover where they do online dating for you. We don't usually offer that program because I'm not a huge believer in it. It feels deceptive to me a little bit, to be honest. I don't really like that. So instead, what we do is we have three different methods to find matches for our clients. So, first of all, we have a database of singles, it's a nationwide and international database. And then the industry is actually very collaborative. So, like I said, I've been doing this for about 14 years. I have other matchmakers I work with, and they will allow me access to their databases. So, that's kind of the first places we can look for matches. However, databases can be unreliable, and that's because people can be unreliable. So, instead of just relying on that, we do a lot of private recruitment. So we'll do online advertising, offline advertising, private recruiting. So we run a lot of Google ads, a lot of Meta ads. And what we'll do is we'll advertise our database in the correct demographic for you and pull
Mhm.
in a bunch of people. And what's really fun about that is a lot of those people might be people that are not on traditional online dating. They won't be on Tinder, they won't be on Hinge, anything like that. So, like, for example, a lot of doctors and lawyers, because the number one thing I hear from them is, I just don't want to accidentally run into a patient or a client,
Sure.
and it's too weird. And matchmaking databases are confidential. So, like, you
Mhm.
can't browse profiles. Like, we will share your profile if it's appropriate, but there's no, like, just going in and looking, right?
Mm.
So, we get a lot of people like that. And then we also do, like I said, private recruiting where, yeah, we reach out to people on LinkedIn sometimes, or we tap on shoulders, or I have one recruiter who's a Princeton alumnus. So they had their alumni event last year in the spring. And she was like, okay, send me the profiles so I know who to look for. And she went out to the alumni event. So it's really a whole combination of things we can do.
Hmm, amazing. Yeah, that sounds like those are all really good tactics for finding. Like, I did get a little of the doctor lawyer hint there.
No,
Yes.
it's true because online dating, like imagine if you're scrolling through and you see the kid you teach at school's mom
Oh,
and you
yeah.
know that that mom just went through a divorce because the kid never shuts up about it. And like now it's awkward, right? So
Yeah,
they just
yeah,
avoid it completely.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, and now and also we're just so kind of there's so many rules at work and everything about dating. It can be really challenging. So let's go backwards. I usually answer ask this at the beginning, but how did you ever get into this field? And you are quite young as well. So what how did this, what an amazing
Yeah.
career. What's the story?
So I was snatched up straight out of school by my current business partner to work in his company. He he used to do, we used to do SEO, lead generation, business support consulting for other matchmakers. And basically, he mentored me into the industry completely. He's been doing this much longer. He was doing it way back in the day when they were still doing matchmaking out of the big books, where you would flip through the profiles in the manually in the book and watch the video of that person on the screen and pick out your matches that way. So that's what he was doing back in the day. And he mentored me into the industry about 14 years ago. So for a long time, we continued on with that, doing background support. And then several years back, we started taking on our own clients.
Amazing. And how has it been for you?
Oh, I love it. I'm so glad that honestly, it was pure luck that we met and it worked out and we ended up being super compatible as business partners. And because honestly, I can't imagine doing anything else. Like, I always knew I wanted to help people. I come from a family. My mother is a social worker. My dad worked for the government. She worked in a homeless shelter. Like, I grew up with a lot of empathy for people and the complexities of people and interpersonal relationships. And that was all very important to me. And I knew I wanted to do something in that realm, but I didn't want to be like a therapist. So I didn't
Mhm.
know what it was going to be. And I didn't even know matchmaking existed. Like, I didn't even have the concept of the industry at all. So when my business partner was like, hey, I need basically an assistant for this job. And I was like, okay, cool. And that was the start of it. And I was like, oh, I can do this.
Incredible. So a lot of my friends have questions about red flags in texting. They're all on the apps and it's kind
Yeah.
of best way for them to meet people, even though it takes a lot of work. And of course, there's the obvious person saying, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. But I was wondering, like, how can you identify, especially if you're looking for a woman, that a man is interested in something serious? What are the signs?
So first things first, if a person is interested in you, they will make time for you. And that
Mm,
doesn't mean always. We have to acknowledge, like, my first thought when you mentioned that you were dating somebody who worked in the medical field and there was an issue with time management, I was like, oh, yeah, but it's the medical field, like
right.
you
Yeah.
have to expect a certain amount of that. However, even people in busy career paths will make some time to spend with you if they want to spend time with you. Right. So that's a great indication that this person is interested in something with you because they are making the time and effort to reach out to you.
Hmm.
Another thing would be like, are we hitting appropriate milestones? Now, keep an eye out for rushing, which is like meeting the parents 2 months in. Maybe we
Yeah.
need to take an evaluation here. But if it's been a year and you don't know any of their friends, we might have a problem.
I mean, a
Right.
year seems a really long time to wait. What about when you're just
Yeah,
looking at
that would be
trial
that would
online?
be kind of.
Is there any way you can save yourself some time with just
Yes. The point I was trying to make was just kind of taking a look at what your milestones are and are you hitting
yeah,
them, right? So
right.
like my personal milestone would be like after a month or two we should be in each other's social spheres. You should have met my friends and I should have met your friends and we should have hung out multiple times.
Yeah.
We should have had at least one weekend together.
Mhm.
We should have traveled somewhere together even if it's just like a day trip. So that's my personal metric. Now not everybody's metric is going to be the same. But the point I was making is what are those relationship milestones? Are you hitting them? And are you on the same page? Or is there a disconnect where one of you is feeling rushed?
I mean, what about me who's just going out with so many guys who are just not the right fit? Like, what is there some way besides that little I'm looking for something long term that I can get a sense even when I'm just interacting online with them or just give up on that?
Well, if it's really important to you and you're willing to put up with a bit of flack for it, you can just straight up do the hard thing on the first date and be like, do you see yourself getting married in the next 2 years?
Yeah, that seems like a good
Yeah.
question to ask.
Do you want kids in the next couple years? You can even set a boundary. You could say, like, hey, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but it's my goal to be living with my partner in the next year.
Mhm.
Now, I don't want to pressure you. If it doesn't work out, that's fine, but that's my goal. How do you feel about that?
Mhm.
Now, that is a little harder because it can feel intense and it will set you up for some more upfront rejection than you might be used to.
Yeah.
But if you're really dedicated and you really feel that way, then being that bold up front can benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, and you'll save yourself time.
Yeah, because the thing is, it'll feel like you're doing the wrong thing because you're getting more upfront rejection rather than down the line rejection. But the truth is, it's the same amount of rejection. You're just getting it all at once, so it feels more intense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in a way, I mean, all you're getting rejected for at that point is a one night stand, honestly. You're not getting rejected for marriage because they're just telling you right out front that they're not interested in that. I have a lot of friends who are happily married who said on the first date their husband talked about kids and marriage. So it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
And you have to be willing to enforce that boundary. If you
Absolutely.
say, like, hey, I want to be exclusive within a month or two and I want a ring on my finger in a year,
Mm,
maybe that would be a little too soon even for me. But if that's your personal metric and then you get to the end of the year and you're not on board, you need to be completely willing to walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so back to this guy who I went on one date with and then somewhat disappeared. My instinct is not to message him because I feel like he has shown that he isn't interested in me for whatever reason, and it would be an uncomfortable situation to be pursuing someone who wasn't interested, and I feel like if I reach out to him, I'll just look desperate, and I'm not even that in the beginning, it wasn't like I was excited about his interest in me more than like, "Whoa, this is the best guy ever." So but then on the other hand, I mean, what I did see is we went on this date, he was extremely nervous, he told me he was nervous, he was definitely really attracted to me, and then all of a sudden, he said he couldn't come, and I decided to call him and be like, "Hey, should we do another time?" And then he said, "Oh, I'm just so busy with work." And I'm just wondering, do you think that there's any value in just sending him another message being, "Hey, how are you?" or something, or should I just move on and say I've learned what I've learned?
I think in this specific instance, I would probably move on. Considering you called and he said, "Oh, I'm just really busy with work." To
Yeah.
me, that's a polite brush off, to be quite honest. Because if it was really like, "Oh, no, I had to pick up this shift and this week is the worst week of my life and I wanna die because I'm in the
Mm.
medical industry," I would totally get that, but they would tell you that. They'd be like, "Okay, I can't even call you for the next 4 days. I'm absolutely swamped, but next week we'll set something up." That would be my instinct. And more importantly than that, even if we take out that section, everything you told me before that indicates to me that this wouldn't be a fit because what you said was, "I wasn't really as interested in him as I was interested in him pursuing me."
Mm, good call.
So you really shouldn't be burning your time. Now, I think the fact that you called was the reach out.
Yeah.
When he canceled, you made an effort. You
I
did
was
reach
kinda
out
proud
and
of
you
myself for that. I never did that
you
before,
should be. That's
and I
perfect. That's exactly the amount of reach out that I would have recommended.
thank you, because I feel like in the past, I just always am texting with these guys. It's so weird and awkward. It makes me so anxious. And what I would really prefer is a phone call. And so when he did that, I just said, I'm just going to call him. And yeah, so thank you. Thanks for the
10 out
validation.
of 10. As awkward as it is, I highly recommend video calls and calls. I know it's a bit weird. I know it's a bit boomer. I know it's hard to initiate. I know. But it's so much better for gauging chemistry and building connection than a text. Texts can be so
Absolutely.
misinterpreted. You can forget about them. I can't tell you how many times I've read a text and then got another text and forgot the first one ever existed. And then now I'm the jerk, you know? Phone people, like,
100%.
I promise you it's better in the long run.
And absolutely, and even a 20-year-old is an adult. I mean, I remember when I was in college at 18, and I felt like a big time adult, and texting is just so immature, honestly. I mean, it's just you don't want a text buddy. I'm not Cyrano de Bergerac, I don't want an epistolary romance. I want someone that I can be with physically present. It's immature not to be able to call, or I
The
think.
thing is, texting has its place in an established relationship. I
Mhm.
love some cute memes, okay? I love some cute flirting. I love a little back and forth. But that is better once you've already established a connection.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then it becomes easier. So establishing that connection needs FaceTime, whether that's in person or over the phone. I even count phone calls in FaceTime because even though you're not seeing each other, you're still hearing the tone of their voice. You're getting the rhythm of the words. You're connecting on a communication level. So when possible, I do recommend that. And I also don't recommend a lot of texting before the date.
yeah,
You
I
should be able to gauge in like a day or two if you want to go on a date with this person.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes guys give me the ick before when they text, but then and when we talk in person, they're perfectly fine. It's just the
Yeah.
weirdness of
Some of
texting.
us are just bad at texting. It doesn't mean like that we suck. And I
Yeah,
say that in my own defense.
for sure. You're such a wise person. I mean, I feel like you have so much clarity and specific insights about things. And
Thank you.
I guess where I'm kind of grappling with is, I never want to be someone who has a big blind spot about myself. I'm almost neurotic about it. Like I have some blind spot and,
Mm.
that, I've been going on all these dates and I have horrible breath or something. I never want to be that person who's like, I don't understand. I'm so gorgeous and so smart and so funny and nobody, there aren't any good men. That's not what I want to be like. So I think that I know my sense is, and I've talked to a lot of friends, is that it's not like I haven't done enough self-development. It's that
Mm.
for some reason, I'm kind of not meeting the right people, and maybe joining all these matchmaker networks is the right next step for me, but I just feel like I have to do something different.
I think that's a great starting point, and I don't want you to discount the worst variable of dating, which is luck. There is a certain amount of luck that we need in this life, and people can be really unlucky or they can be really lucky. And that doesn't mean we stop reflecting. That doesn't mean we don't tweak our behavior. It's very important that I count that in. But it also means we can be a little gentle with ourselves if something doesn't happen as quickly as we would like it to happen.
Okay, so how can you change your luck? Do you believe in any magical practices or prayers?
Yes. So
Talk about
I
that.
have always I have always said the only thing I'll ever wish for in life is positive luck for myself because everything else I can achieve myself.
Beautiful.
Like, I can be pretty, I can be rich, I can do all of these things on my own if I work hard enough at them, but I cannot change my luck. So every single time I see a little star, or every time I'm supposed to blow out a candle, or whatever it is, it's always luck for me personally. And I'll tell you, maybe I'm jinxing it right now, but I've had very favorable luck in my life. So
I don't think you're jinxing it, Alexandra. I think you're magnifying it by sharing it with me and everyone listening.
yeah, I'll send a little bit your way. I'll light a candle for you.
Woo! I love it. Yeah, and I think that there's this like lucky girl, right? There's this idea of the lucky girl. I've been listening to these. I don't know if you know activations, but it's this app that does
Oh, yeah.
manifestations. Yeah, and it's all about you're a lucky girl. You have great luck, and so I think that's a really beautiful way to think about things.
I think that these things can actually have huge benefits if you're in balance because there are certain people who will only rely on such things, on manifestations, on luck, and then all the luck in the world can't save you from poor habits, and all of the good habits in the world can't save you from poor luck.
Oh,
So you have to find a balance.
it's yeah, and I think, like, for me, that's clear. I'm just such a strategic person. I mean, I have my whole like, 4-part 16-step dating strategy and, reverse engineering my man, so I think it makes sense to just give myself a chance to cultivate a bit of luck. I love that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and for people who have intense dating strategies, another thing is have fun. Make it fun. Don't forget about the fun because I have had clients where they over intellectualize it to the point where they're not having fun and then their dates aren't having fun and we're having really good matches fall apart at the seams.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that what are some we talked a little bit. I told you I went into the vintage clothing store and got all of these new outfits. And are there some other things that you recommend to clients to make it more fun?
Do activities you like to do. Don't get too locked into just coffee dates. Those can be fine and fun too. But like if you have a restaurant you wanted to try, go to that restaurant. Talk about the food. Try a new kind of wine that you've never tried before. Um like if it's something you would want to do by yourself, do it with another person.
Yeah.
Because if you just go to the same cafe that you go to anyways every Sunday and you know what you're going to drink and you're like, okay, yeah, it's the cafe, you're already kind of priming your nervous system to not be very excited.
It's so true. I love that. I even did that I too where I had this challenge to myself to go to a new spot every day. And the first time I went to the first cafe that was different. I said, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to really like it here." And all of a sudden I saw these people waving me in, and it was everybody I knew who worked at the restaurant that I usually
Oh,
go
wow.
to.
That's
And
awesome.
they're all the waiters, and I came in, and we just had wine together for an hour, we laughed, we started this WhatsApp group together, and it was just the most fun night, and it would never would have happened if I didn't just say, "I'm gonna try a new place tonight."
Yeah. So
Mhm.
the last time I went on a date, so I live in Tbilisi, Georgia, I mentioned, and one of their main exports is like pomegranate. So I
Ooh.
had my date order a coffee for me before I came, and I was like, just anything, like something fun, something new, it'll be fun. And he ordered me this pomegranate coffee. Like it was like pomegranate. It was the most I've never had anything like it. And
Wow.
it was so weird. It was like warm pomegranate coffee. It was great. I loved it. I'll probably never have it again because I have no idea what it was called, but It was such a unique experience. And honestly, I didn't like the date that much. I didn't like the guy that much, but I'm always going to remember that weird pomegranate coffee that I really liked.
Pomegranate coffee guy. Wow. That is really amazing. It and also I think another topic about dating is drinking, and people can really drink heavily when they're uncomfortable on a date. Is there kind of a first date or second date recommendations that you have for people?
Know your limits. Like, I hardly ever drink. So, like, if I have 3 drinks, I'm under the table. So,
Mhm.
like, so for me, it's like 1 drink, 2 if we're gonna be there for a couple of hours. I can have a second drink. So that's my limit. Know your limit. A lot of people prefer no drinking at all on dates. That's also completely acceptable. But yeah, just know what your number is and then don't exceed the number.
Amazing. How do you feel about asking colleagues and friends to introduce you to singles? What's the best approach?
You have to do it when it's appropriate, and you have to make sure you're not putting pressure.
Mm,
So like you got to feel it out. This is where your interpersonal skills come in. Like if you've mentioned your dating life to a coworker, how comfortable were they with the conversation?
mm. Yeah.
Have they told you stories about their love life? Have they told you about their friends' love life? Are you on that level where it's a natural part of the conversation? Then I would say, yeah, you can like introduce it as a joke. You can be like, hey, like, I don't know if you have any single cousins, like, ha ha ha. And like, see if their laughter is a little too awkward or not. Like, kind of like gauge it. So, cause coworkers can be a weird one. So with that, you really have to like use your intuition there. Now with friends, you can just be a little more blunt. You can be like, "Hey, I'm like desperately single. Like help a girl out."
Yeah.
But again, you don't want to put too much pressure on people either. So you have to use your discretion in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so there's just one other question that kind of occurred to me, which is, oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting it. Like when you've met a lot of people who were men and then became husbands.
Yeah,
Do you have, I don't know, do you feel like there's a certain type of man who just turns out to be a wonderful husband?
a flexible one.
Mm. And how do you spot those?
Flexible people are the most successful people, and that's people who can shift their realities based off the input that they're given.
I love
People
that.
who don't go in with a fixed mindset of like, here's my 20-point list of what I absolutely need in a wife and what I need in a partner and what we're going to achieve together. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean you don't have goals and that doesn't mean you don't have wants and needs. But the ability to shift your reality and work with another person is probably my number one indicator for success.
Gorgeous. Well, Alexandra, it's been such a treat having you. You're so
Thanks so
sharp and
much.
knowledgeable. Is there anything we didn't touch upon that you think is really important for people to know? And then we could talk about what you offer.
No, I think we were really thorough today. We went
We
over
did.
like a
We
lot of
went deep.
things.
We went deep.
The only thing we didn't touch on, I would say, is I'm a big believer of a holistic approach to dating. So make sure that you're looking at your whole life and not just your love life. How's your
Oh,
social circle? How is your health? How is your emotional well being? All of these things, because they do have an impact on your love life.
and how lucky are you? Gotta get
Yeah,
that luck.
that's the only one where, that one's up to the universe. So
I
best
think
of luck.
I think that's such a beautiful point, and I mean, so many people overlook that altogether, like, "Oh, I want someone super fit." Wait a minute, I'm not fit. You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
true.
So
Like
just
everybody wants a gym bro, but you know what? They run on like chicken breast and spite. So like know what you're getting into.
oh my god, that's hilarious. And yeah, and I think that also, I mean, fitness is probably not the greatest example, but even I found, oh, I want a partner because I just really want more romance in my life. And then I realized actually there are other ways I can bring romance and physical touch into my life.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun. Like the secondhand fashion show, sometimes when I'm doing the online dating, I'll choose like my favorite, most delicious food. So I have something really sensual
Hmm.
while I'm doing this extremely anti-sensual activity. Yeah, I
That's
love
great
that.
instinct.
So everybody who is an amazing person, and you are if you're watching this podcast to me, as this is Alexandra's website, Alexandra Freeman. You can go to matchmakeralexandra.com. The company's called Introductions. And if you have the means, I definitely recommend hiring an amazing matchmaker like Alexandra. And then also they have some like this ability. You said you can join is this where you join the free
Yeah, so
network?
if you go to introductionsinc.com,
Okay.
There's a section on our website under passive membership where you can fill out a form and you
Okay.
can join our passive database. There's no cost for that.
Amazing. Okay, so this is introductionsinc.com, luxury
Yes.
matchmaking for elite singles. So if you are elite, you may join and you
Or
contact
even if you're not.
if you're not elite. You are elite. You're an elite person, whoever you are watching this. Yeah, and then oh my gosh, what a beautiful website. And then this
And then
is
if you click the get started button on the top right hand,
okay.
that's where you'll see where you can submit your information. So if you scroll down, there's the passive membership. It's completely free. You just fill out the form and we reach out with more information.
Incredible. Well, I'm going to do that right after we get off this call. Alexandra, I'm so happy to know you.
You as well. It was so nice to have our discussion today. I had so much fun.
I agree. You've just been so generous with your advice and so highly specific, and you've really given me a lot to think about and to do. So I
Good.
really
Good.
appreciate it.
Great. I'm so happy I could be of help.